a regional champion, 3 times finalist, 5 times a top 4 at the World Championships, and also a top 4 at LAIC, already besting that finish here with a finals appearance.
Absolutely amazing. And Chip, is that a 9 down there? 9-time
you are not
regional
seeing
champion
that wrong,
for
yes.
Regan on a tear, taking it down. Amazing, amazing pedigree here from Regan. All of this training, all of this tutelage from the upper tier players has paid off, and Regan could probably hold his own in the Master Division. I can't wait to see where he goes.
And of course, the decks that these two players have chosen to bring, the Origin form Palkia V-Star from Rune. We've seen it dominate in the Masters Division. It just won in the Juniors Division, and it's going to be a similar type of matchup. Of course, Regan is playing Arceus V-Star, similar to what we saw from Juniors Finals, but his list is actually quite different. While it is utilizing that Intellion engine, he has some really spicy secondary attackers. The Flying Pikachu VMAX, which we'll see later on today from Azul Garcia Griego in the Masters Finals. But he's also got the B-Drill in here, which is something we saw quite a bit of in the last format. Hasn't quite been as popular for this format, but is still solid against things like Mew VMAX and, of course, Blissey, so it made it a great call for this event.
It's always great when those techs work out in order to carry you through the Swiss rounds, to make sure that you advance through the bracket, and now that we're in the finals, some of that tech isn't going to be as relevant for this matchup, but we've already seen how evenly matched Dialga and Arceus actually are. Oh, Palkia, my goodness.
Right.
Listen, I gotta tell you, Chip, I was so looking forward to seeing a little bit more Dialga, but
and we got to see it a few
case.
times. It was still nice. We got the opportunity to feature it earlier on. As far as the prizes go, I did notice Rune prized a cross switcher, which certainly could be relevant. You do need to play 2 copies of that card at the same time in order to get any value out of it. And also the Galarian Zigzagoon in the prizes could be relevant if he's trying to reach for certain numbers to take a KO.
And we're getting right into it,
Here
Chip.
we go.
Radiant Greninja in the active spot in the Senior Finals, Game 1. Radiant Greninja, such a fantastic card with that Concealed Cards ability. Of course, Evolution Incense just going to immediately pick up this Drizzile, and Rune's already preparing for multiple turns in the future.
It's really never great when you see a turn 1 Evolution Incense. Of course, Pokemon have to be in play for a whole turn before they can evolve. So this card, while it gets you an Evolution Pokemon, you can't utilize it, whatever you get, this turn. So usually when someone's playing an Evolution searching card like this, it means they're just trying to thin out because their hand is not good. And sure enough, Rune just has to pass. No energy even to concealed cards.
Just by playing 1 card, Chip already knew what the hand quality was looking like. Regan now in the driver's seat, able to really run away with this game, hopefully. We saw in the previous set how momentum-based this game can truly be, especially with this matchup. And just looking through the deck now, studying the deck, what is left, seeing what is prized, always important. But with the Sobble in the active spot, it's very easy to just leave this here, evolve it at a future turn, get the Arceus set up here.
Yeah, Regan's deck is meant to counter Rune's deck. He knew that Origin form Palkia V-Star was going to be a big-time deck at this event, so he decided to identify which lightning-type attacker would be most beneficial, be most powerful into a field full of Origin form Palkia V-Star, and the choice for him was that Flying Pikachu VMAX from Celebrations Max Balloon for a lightning and 2 colorless, deals 160 damage, of course times 2 for weakness, easy KOs on that Origin form Palkia V-Star.
Arceus has always had the ability to support these attackers that have very strong abilities and only need 3 energy to get going.
And that was honestly a kind of weak turn from Regan as well. No supporter over on his side. He did discard a Drizzile from his hand, so that makes me think that he's at least got something to work with on the next turn. Maybe another Drizzile. Didn't quite get a full look at the hand. But now Rune does top deck the Capacious Bucket, I believe, is going to take the opportunity to check his prize cards, make sure he knows what Pokemon he has available. He'll get the news here that Galarian Zigzagoon is in the prizes, so it'll be much harder to reach for certain numbers at the specific times. It's kind of nice because Galarian Zigzagoon is really like a plus 30 because when you put it on the bench, it's plus 20 for a bench Pokemon. And then, of course, Headbutt Tantrum adds 10 more damage.
Great way to manipulate those numbers. We've seen so many games over the course of this weekend come down to players just being 10 damage short, just one more benched Pokemon short of getting that perfect KO. Even though Regan had a bit of a weak turn, just at the very least getting an Arceus with an energy attachment is still the basic setup that every single Arceus V-Star deck needs. Rune, meanwhile, now has still access to that concealed cards ability, is going to discard that energy right now, draw 2 more cards, hopefully can fix this hand.
Does find a level ball, so we can start to see Sobbles finally hitting the field. I do believe there is an Irida in the hand as well. This can start to establish maybe the origin form Palkia V, trying to prep for the future V-Star. Really strong supporter from this new set, allowing you to search your deck for a water Pokemon and an item card and put it into your hand. Really reminiscent of that old Karina supporter card that was really strong in fighting decks back when Furious Fists came out. Similar effect, reprinted here, but useful for water types.
In water type decks, the cards that you fetch off of a supporter like this have the ability in their own right to fetch even more cards. It's 1 card, becomes 2, becomes 4. And so the power of Irida isn't readily apparent when you first look at it, but the players have demonstrated repeatedly this weekend how much you can really do when you play the Irida. As long as you have this, your hand is never dead.
Yeah, Irida would certainly be much weaker if it weren't for the Shady Dealings engine, the Drizziles, the Intellions that just give you so much access to your deck.
And you were right, Chip, the Palkia V does come down, and Scoop Up Net seems to be the item card that Rune is going to look at as well. Finally getting, hopefully, an attacker onto the bench, trying to get some semblance of a setup before Regan gets too far ahead.
It looks like we may be seeing a Keep Calling this turn, an opportunity to just get more Sobbles in play, try to get more established. That Scoop Up Net, of course, can pick the Greninja up out of the active spot. It would be able to reuse concealed cards since it has been returned to hand, but I only see the 1 water in the hand, which, of course, Rune did attach to Sobble for turn.
We've only actually seen that a couple times, right? Scoop Up Net for the concealed cards. It's a nice, cheeky thing you can do to get some extra card draw. But it's always been a little bit better to save those Scoop Up Nets, especially with the Zigzagoon, with the Shady Dealings Inteleon, and now with Rune getting set up with the Keep Calling, the Sobbles are really going to get this engine off of the ground. Regan now is the one that has to keep limiting his bench because of the threat of that Palkia V-Star and that subspace swell, but Rune is just going to develop willy-nilly here.
This is a great turn for Rune to put the path to the peak in play. Regan's only real V Pokemon abilities are the ability of Arceus V-Star, that Star Birth V-Star power. And this is definitely the turn that Regan wants to use it. So Rune recognizes that, throws that ability locking stadium into play, says, hey, Regan, if you want to use that V-Star power, you're going to have a stadium of your own.
When you have an attacker that can just go in with the 2 water energy like Palkia V-Star, it's very easy to just naturally attach and develop here, whereas Arceus, if they don't have an established foundation, they're much more reliant on that Star Birth. So the fact that you're locking out your own V-Star power is not going to hurt Rune as much. Path to the Peak just going to force Regan to scramble a little bit, maybe try to get it out of the way if there isn't anything else going on in the hand as of now. Quick Ball, looking for hopefully another Sobble here, another Arceus. We know how important it is to have 2 of those sort of working in tandem to take down the Palkia.
Absolutely. You want to be mindful of how many Pokemon you put in play. Something Regan also definitely wants to establish soon is that Flying Pikachu V. The longer it takes for him to get energies onto that Pokemon and the longer it takes for him to evolve into the VMAX, the more opportunity he's giving Rune to find boss's orders or cross-switcher and target down the Flying Pikachu V before it can get that boosted hit points.
That's certainly the key. The tempo of being able to snipe that Pokemon off the bench before it can evolve, before it can get fully established with energies, is the key to Palkia just taking down so many of these Arceus decks that have proven so consistent, not just this weekend, but the entire season.
Regan playing the hand out all the way. The last card remaining appears to be that Marnie. Wants to take the opportunity to disrupt Rune a little bit. He did build a pretty sizable hand and also did not re-bench that Radiant Greninja, so that's a piece that Regan knows will be put to the bottom of the deck. If Rune wants to start using concealed cards again, he's going to have to fetch it back out of the deck.
With Radiant Greninja out of the picture, if Rune does not get good draws off the Marnie, it could be very difficult to fully set up this Palkia now.
Rune getting 4 cards, Regan having 5 to work with. There is the Arceus V-Star and the double turbo energy, but I don't see a way to move the Drizzile out of the active. And of course, because of Path to the Peak, Regan can't just Starbirth for the piece that he needs.
The setup is here, but the payoff is not. Even when you get the Arceus V-Star, it just has to sit on the sidelines, Chip. Drizzile now stranded in the active. If Rune is somehow able to get that Radiant Greninja up, you're just going to be drawing even more cards and find yourself with more time to prepare for when the Arceus or even the Flying Pikachu rears its ugly head.
Regan's having a tough decision here. He's thinking of quickballing away a Sobble, which he's going to do, and I imagine this will get the Flying Pikachu V. He's holding the VMAX in his hand, so I think he wants to try and get that evolution as quickly as possible. Actually deciding to go for Manaphy, and this also makes sense. Even though the Radiant Greninja got put to the bottom of the deck, Regan knows how devastating a timely Moonlight Slash can be, a Moonlight Shuriken.
Yeah, you find an Irida, you just immediately search that back up, and then it's just right back on the bench, drawing cards. The threat of that Moonlight Shuriken has been so devastating for these decks where you can just either deal a little bit of chip damage to an Arceus and take down a Drizzile, or you just snipe 2 Sobbles, 2 Drizziles. You really have your pick of the litter when it comes to where you want to spread this damage. It lines up so well. But now back over to Rune with the evolution now. Palkia V-Star is now part of the equation. The threat is getting off the ground, and Rune does indeed have the Irida. I wonder if the Moonlit Shuriken will come out soon. Path of the Peak still going to be blocking that Star Portal ability, so you can't accelerate the energies. But because Regan has had such a slow and clunky start, we cannot, manually attach those energies. You probably have the time for it, but we do see, of course, Chip, the training court be able to bump that Path to the Peak. It looks like it's all coming together.
Yeah, we'll see what strat Rune wants to go for. It's definitely a little bit of a slower turn. We'll see if he can piece together an attack. You, of course, do risk by bumping the Path to the Peak. You allow your opponent to have an opportunity to get back in, but it's also a situation where Rune may just be content with the fact that he bought himself a turn. He slowed Regan down. Regan whiffed an attack. Now it's okay to get rid of Path to the Peak, put the training court in place, start utilizing the Radiant Greninja, get the extra energies back with training court, and then of course you can use the Star Portal V-Star power once Path gets removed. And Rune does discard that Path. All of his rule box Pokemon abilities are back online.
So now we've got Radiant Greninja, concealed cards, ability drawing 2, of course, and now the subspace, well, becomes a massive threat. The Star Portal becomes a massive threat. Rune has a lot of options here.
Can retreat this Sobble and then use Star Portal in order to get 3 water energies from the discard pile back into play. Attaching probably to the Palkia to start attacking this turn. It is a little risky to be the first person to leave a 2 prize Pokemon in the active spot, but at the same time, you got to start being aggressive at some point and start taking prize cards.
In this matchup, the Palkia V-Star always wants to be the one finding this tempo. You take down that first Pokemon. If Regan cannot immediately strike back, you just take over the game with the threat of the cross switchers, the threat of the boss's orders, as you said, and getting those Pokemon out of the bench and sniped down before they can get established is just that cascading momentum that leads to victory here in potentially the first game.
Rune taking the KO, draws a water energy off the prizes, which is actually pretty useful. He can concealed cards it away and then pick it right back up with the training court. Now over to Regan. How will he respond? Starbirth is an excellent start. He really wants to start establishing those flying Pikachu Vs. Probably wants to try and bench 2 of them this turn. The problem with that is you're adding just so many Pokemon into play. Oh, he could actually go for a Beedrill here. He's eyeing up the Ultra Ball. Beedrill's not incredibly strong in this matchup. Palkia is not weak to grass. It's weak to lightning. so you can't like Jet Spear for a ton of damage. And of course, Rune does not play any special energies, but those Mustard cards, even though it's not great in this matchup, they are still in your deck. So if you can try and just get them out now by using the single strike Mustard when you can, it's not going to be clunky cards you draw into later on.
Yeah, the Mustard's still going to allow you to draw even more cards out of your deck. The Beedrill might be a single prizer that you can promote to just slow down Rune a bit.
Right.
That way you don't have to promote that Mana Fee or that Sobble that you're trying to keep up and running. But it looks like you were right, Chip. The Flying Pikachu does hit the bench, and now Regan is under a little bit of pressure here, right? You're trying your best to limit the bench, but now that things are starting to kind of get a little bit hairier here, you have to start taking that bigger risk of benching these Pokemon so you have more things to pivot to and get set up.
So Regan's actually going to fail the single strike Mustard, does not want to put Beedrill in play, but will take this opportunity to still draw 5 cards. It's kind of interesting the way this card is worded. You do not have to actually put the single strike Pokemon in play. You just simply have to search your deck for it, and then if you do, you get to draw 5 cards.
So these are 5 great cards. The Sharon's Care, such an important part of this matchup, such an important part of the Arceus strategy. When you have this Pokemon in the active, hopefully getting that big Charm attached, it's just a big HP pool that your opponent might be forced to set up a 2-turn knockout against, and then you can punish with the Sharon's Care to scoop that right back up.
You know, Regan actually does only play 1 copy of Professor's Research, and that 1 copy is sitting in his prize card, so I think that's the reason we see the Mustard coming out. It's really just his best way to draw cards this turn. The Beedrill, I guess, could be an okay attack option. If you hit into a Palkia with an Arceus V-Star, you can Sharon's Care, pick up your Arceus, and then go into the Beedrill and use Jet Spear to clean up the KO, but Regan didn't want to put that extra Pokemon in play, it seems.
Just, again, trying to limit the bench. It's such a difficult call to make in situations like this. How much can I really advance my game plan? But 2 Flying Pikachu V are being established. Regan knows that a lightning attacker is going to be the line to victory here. Trinity Nova comes through, accelerates the energy. It means now only one of these Flying Pikachu V just needs 1 attachment each to become a big threat, and we just have to get the V Max into the hand now.
Really smart from Regan to try and establish 2 Pikachus here. If he only got 1 in play, Rune would easily be able to target it down through Boss's Orders or Cross Switcher, which he does have easy access to through his deck thanks to Shady Dealings.
Back over to Rune, we have the Hisui and Heavy Ball in the hand, not a big deal, but of course the Palkia V-Star still waiting in the active, still has the ability to deal ludicrous amounts of damage here with both benches almost completely full.
Yeah, would be dealing 240 damage at this point. Rune did prize that Galarian Zigzagoon, so the pickup of the Hisui and Heavy Ball could lead to a play where Rune uses Scoop Up Net, clears one of his own Pokemon out of play, puts down the Zigzagoon off of the Hisuian Heavy Ball, boosting the damage on that Arceus to 10, and then dealing 240 damage, that's 250, and then if Rune could find the Choice Belt, that would be perfect math, 280 to take the knockout this turn.
It is certainly possible, especially with the Training Core and Radiant Greninja working in tandem. Get that energy back from the discard pile, send it right back there to draw 2 more cards, and you just have so much utility and so much card draw here to assemble these key combos. All of these Palkia V-Star decks have very situational ways to increase the damage when they need it in a pinch, and Rune opting for the Zigzagoon is a very nice old-school touch.
So he actually is going for a cross-switcher play, it seems. Maybe wants to target down one of those Pikachus before it becomes a VMAX. That way he doesn't have to deal with 2 potential VMAXs. The prize trade here is really interesting. Rune is sitting at 5 prizes, so he's got a pretty clear path. Knock out 1 2-prize Pokemon, and then get through 1 Pikachu VMAX.
And because Regan is so reliant on that Pikachu VMAX, you know that it will eventually find its way into the active spot. Rune has a second Palkia set up and ready to go on the bench, just needs to evolve it into a V-Star. And when Regan has to send up that Pokemon, you know Rune is going to be fully prepared for that eventuality.
Debating on this second cross-switcher here. I do believe that is the second one grabbed this turn. So we know Rune has access to the play to bring something up. I do believe that He did play Irida, right, and grab that Origin Form Palkia V-Star, I believe, so it should be there in the hand. So he can attack with the clean Palkia, but you'd almost rather attack with the damaged Palkia here, not let your clean one get easily KO'd by a Max Balloon.
Exactly, and we already went over the threat of the Jet Spear from the Beedrill. If there is a damaged Palkia, could come through with that extra little bit of damage to finish things off.
Okay, so Rune does have the Choice Belt in hand. He could go for the Zigzagoon play. I do see a Scoop Up Net there as well. Instead, though, wants to cross Switcher this turn.
It's a huge opportunity here, a big decision. Do I want to attack with this Palkia or the other? Going to retreat this one instead. Checking the hand once more before figuring out what to promote.
Can just send up a Drizzile and Scoop Up Net it to reset it if he wants to. I do expect that we'll be seeing that clean. Or, well, this lets him, by using the Scoop Up Net here, he can attack with the damaged one this turn, which would be pretty
I see. Send it right back
nice.
up, as you said, Chip.
And then he could go for a play next turn where he one-hit KOs the Arceus V-Star, but then we're leading to a game plan where I guess you're having to attack 3 times anyway. You're just getting through extra Pokemon. He would have to probably find the Echoing Horn in the list to pull that off next turn. I don't think Regan will be benching any other Pokemon willingly here.
But when it comes to, your strategy, at the end of the day, you're just going to be attacking. The Palkia V-Star is just the aggressive deck in the format, the aggressive deck for this matchup. Regan still not fully established. There's the sort of potential of a lot of threat from that side, but Rune just having a lot of tempo in the current board state, allowing him to decide what targets he wants to go for, and this Flying Pikachu V is going to go down before it does anything on the board.
Battle VIP Pass is an easy discard choice off of the Quick Ball. We do see another Origin Form Palkia V-Star being grabbed.
And once that is put in the hand, just thinning down, thinning down, thinning down, this opens up a board slot, but Rune isn't going to go for the heavy ball into the Zigzagoon, just going to get another Palkia set up. Doesn't think that additional math is going to matter, just going to have a massive pressure and constant threat by having all these Palkia ready to go, and actually just snags that Zigzagoon right off the prizes.
And another great prize is the Cross Switcher, so now he'll have access to another play where he can gust a Pokemon on the bench while playing a different supporter from hand. Doesn't have to rely on Boss. Actually, now that I think about it, yeah, it is only 1 copy of Boss. So Rune needed to take either the Boss or the Cross Switcher there to even have any gusting plays lined up in future turns.
And now does indeed have access to it. Regan going for the Shady Dealings, and Teleon has to try to evolve this Pikachu. Now the Flying Pikachu VMAX hitting play, even though you're having these big attacking numbers with that Lightning attacker. This Palkia is already damaged, so it feels like you aren't even getting that true benefit you were hoping for.
Regan may just attack with the Arceus V-Star this turn. Feel like it's a decent option. We actually see the Beedrill eyed up. Maybe wants to just discard it. Also looking at Boss's orders. Wants to deal with the clean Origin Form Palkia V-Star this turn, and then you can clean up this active one with a Arceus potentially.
Yeah, the players have plenty of time here in Game 1, going to consider all the lines. So important with so much on the line here in the Senior Finals. But Boss's orders and Scoop Up Net. Oh, just going to reconsider the net. Evolution Incense is going to be the other card, perhaps, again, to get this Flying Pikachu VMAX. I think swapping it out for the Arceus might be the best bet, so you maintain this threat, maintain this attacker, especially now that you see that Rune has developed all of these Palkia onto the bench. You need to preserve this Lightning attacker if possible, so you have that consistent one-shot threat.
So Regan has already discarded 1 Flying Pikachu VMAX, so he's only got 1 left. He needs to search it out. I think does potentially have the play to get it with the Evolution Incense. He will need 1 more energy card, though, but thankfully, Rune has a training court in play. Of course, stadium cards are not just yours to use. They are able to be used by your opponent as well. Regan taking great advantage of that right there, picking up the grass energy from the discard.
And there is the attachment to the Flying Pikachu V. Are we going to see the evolution or just the attack with the Arceus? Leaving this in the active is going to be a little bit rough.
He's going for a Boss. Does he not have the other VMAX in the deck? Have both of them been discarded this game? Is he going for the Fly? He is going for the Fly. This is a huge flip. It is a Tails.
Oh, no.
No, it doesn't do anything. That's right. It is 120 damage. Flip a coin. If tails, it does nothing. That is a lost turn from Regan. His second Pikachu VMAX must have gotten discarded early on in the game.
The flying Pikachu V not able to do anything. It's such a... This is such a horrible outcome for Regan. The Arceus V-Star really isn't going to have enough damage output to threaten all of the established threats on Rune's side. And even Rune thought that at least some damage was going to come through there.
Surely
you know, you see the
this
120
is doing
there.
something. I mean, if Regan has discarded both Pikachu Vs, this is going to be pretty tough to come back from. He recognized, hey, if I don't have access to them, I got to go for this play. If I get the knockout here, if my Pikachu is immune next turn, if it can't be damaged, I'll be in a great spot. But we know that, you know, a tails flip means that absolutely nothing happened. Effectively a wasted turn and a wasted boss's orders from Regan.
When you're already so far behind, when Rune has so many threats established, losing out on any damage is going to make sure that Rune is not going to give you that opportunity again. The Flying Pikachu V is going to go down. Just one more prize to take. There's really nothing that you can promote to buy you any sort of time with so many threats already set up.
I actually don't think Rune has too much going on in this hand. There's a Drizzile, but he's unable to evolve because there's no Sobble in play, and he's actually just going for Rule the Region, searching the deck for a stadium, and there's not even one left in the deck.
I thought it was all over, but Regan has another shot at redemption here after just a Rule the Region.
This is
Hopefully
a big
can find
opening.
another attacker. Let's go.
Are we going to see another fly? Is that the play? Let's get a look at this discard pile. Oh, he's not going to show it to us. I got to see if those Pikachus are in there.
I must have missed
it. They have to be. It has to be.
Yeah.
There's no way that Regan's ever going for this play. Evolution Incense was the grab, and man, what a spot we are in here, Adam.
And now Inteleon is going to be the one that's set up. There's just nothing else that can take over. Losing out on this lightning attacker, the reason that you've put it in the deck
It's another fly. Getting the dice ready. It is a heads this time. That takes the KO. And now Flying Pikachu is unable to be damaged by any attacks from Rune this turn.
This is true Pokemon. At the highest levels of play, every time you think a matchup is going to play out a certain way, anytime the game is going to go a different way, the players surprise us with some new line, and it's absolutely wild that Regan has to take this risky line. Has to flip so many heads from this position to keep this Flying Pikachu
Big two cards here on concealed cards. He doesn't have much else to work with.
Is still trying to draw out of this dead
the
spot.
VIP pass.
Sobble onto the bench. This is going to prepare for hopefully a Drizzile to bail out, but there is just nothing going on here, Chip.
Nothing going on, and he's unable to damage this Pikachu. Choice Belt can come down, but, I mean, you'll boost the damage you're not doing.
Yeah, just a Choice Belt attachment. VIP pass not going to do anything from here. Double checking the HP on this Flying Pikachu. Even though the bench is full, even though this thing isn't evolved, it's still a lightning attacker. As long as that die goes your way, you can still take these hits, take these one-shots.
I wonder if there's a situation here where Rune is thinking he's able to hit this Pokemon. He's picked up this Pikachu and read it a couple of times here. Just wants to make sure he's totally aware of what is going on. He is unable to damage this Pokemon.
Prevent all damage from and effects of attacks.
Our judges need to take a
Pokemon.
look now.
The judges have to take a look at this Flying Pikachu V. Just a love letter to the community. Everybody loves the Flying Pikachu from just Easter eggs and older cards and games gone by. I remember Flying Pikachu from Pokemon Snap.
And Rune having to retreat this Palkia and just send up a Drizzile pass and hope that Regan doesn't have a Gust option here.
One more draw, one more shot at bringing it back. It looked so doomed for Regan at first, but now with Flying Pikachu V is putting the team on its back and going to try to hard carry here.
Yeah, trying to help everyone fly away here, carry themselves to a champion title. Taking a look at the discard pile, wants to see what resources you can see. The wheels are turning. Regan's thinking through all of the options. What does my opponent have access to? I have to imagine Regan is very familiar with Rune's list and probably knows almost all of the 60 cards that are available. So he's really just thinking through any possible play his opponent could have here.
Give me a different line that doesn't rely on me needing to hope for a coin flip to stay in this game. Scoop up net going to come through, recycling the Shady Dealings and Teleon back to the hand. Nothing else to evolve it, but you still just get these extra cards and set up for further down the road.
There's the Ordinary Rod in hand. I only see one VMAX in there.
Where is the other one?
Maybe Regan just thought he had to go for this. Let's see, looking at the deck here. There is the VMAX in there, so Regan was just wanting to go for the fly, and now has an opportunity to get the max balloon off, dealing enough damage to take these KOs. The Flying Pikachu VMAX floating into play.
And with no coin flip needed to actually land this attack, we've got 310 HP, moderately tanky. There is still one copy of Big Charm. So if we can put a little bit more HP on this, the fact that the bench is quite full won't be that big of an issue. But now Flying Pikachu can continue to take prize cards. And the rest of what's remaining, hopefully, Regan can get that professor's research out of the prize cards and draw if they're looking for one more specific card to truly close out here. Rune, meanwhile, on just a natural brick. It's so rare to see this. Usually your opponent has put you in this situation thanks to a Marnie or a Roxanne, but just to have the deck just run out of steam in the mid-game like this is unprecedented, and Regan is taking full advantage of that lull in Rune's pressure.
Taking a look at the discard, wants to know exactly what is available. Will we see this Pikachu VMAX? Is it time? Maybe, okay, so I guess what Regan is thinking here, he doesn't want to put the VMAX in play because that's Rune's win condition. Just 2-hit KO, a Pokemon, well, no, here it comes. So maybe that's what he was thinking in the previous turns, but now has determined, okay, it should be safe enough now. Even though my opponent's at 3 prizes, I've fought back enough. I'm going to be taking one more prize. I now only need to take 3 prizes. And this game is all tied up, 3 prizes apiece for these players.
We never thought it was going to play out like this, Chip. We know that these games are always close, but for one player to get so far ahead and then Regan having to try his hardest to claw back in. Arceus V-Star now in the active, going to try to keep up, carry the torch that was received from the flying Pikachu V, buying just a little bit of time with that clutch fly. Rune, meanwhile, has 2 Palkia V-Stars set up and ready to go. Just needs to find an energy, just needs to find the right cards. Hopefully a way to get some more of those Drizziles cycling through.
I mean, Rune can KO this Arceus this turn. He's got the Zigzagoon. He plays the Echoing Horn. So if he can find that horn, bring a Pokemon back. Or I guess Regan did play the Ordinary Rod this past turn, so I don't know if there's actually any basic Pokemon remaining in the discard pile. That may be something Regan was trying to play around. There is the Echoing Horn. We'll find out real soon.
Play.
Is there a basic Pokemon in the discard pile? There is still a Flying Pikachu and some Sobbles. Okay, plenty of choices here. Let's see what Rune brings back on Regan's bench.
We've seen that play before where the Ordinary Rod denies the Echoing Horn, but there's too many KOs have gone down. Not enough just yet. Looks like Sobble is going to be brought out of the discard pile by the Echoing Horn. And then the Zigzagoon to just make sure that this math is correct. Rune just doing a quick calculation here.
Yeah, this will be enough. 10 damage, headbutt tantrum onto the active Arceus. Echoing Horn bringing down either Sobble or Flying Pikachu. If you give your opponent the Sobble, that does open up a second Shady Dealings this turn, potentially.
That is a very interesting upside of the Echoing Horn since it goes into play onto your opponent's turn. When it comes back over to you, you can just evolve it.
Rune does also have Roxanne. This would be a huge play, putting Regan to just 2 cards in hand, and Rune will fill his up to 6.
Taking a key KO and then putting your opponent on a limited hand is the two-pronged recipe for victory that so many players have enjoyed over the course of this weekend, and Rune is just demonstrating how consistently you can get this to go. Again, in such an even-keeled matchup like this, you know your opponent's going to take some prizes. You can rely on the Roxanne in the later stages of the game to really help you seal the deal.
We know that Rune has his one copy of Boss's Orders still in the prize cards. If he takes this KO, dealing 280 damage thanks to Zigzagoon, and if he takes Boss's Orders, he's lined up to win the game on the next turn by bringing up a Sobble on the bench and just KOing it for his final prize. We will have to see, keep a close eye, if that Boss gets taken out of the prize cards. Training Court can bring in energy back. This is the necessary energy needed to attack this turn.
Palkia V-Star 2 energy with the choice belt.
Here we go. Does he take the boss? He does take the boss and takes the KO. Regan with 3 prizes left sends up this Pikachu. It will easily be able to KO this Palkia. But does Regan have his own Roxanne, potentially maybe a Marnie? And no, Rune has the Boss's Orders, bringing up any of those low HP Pokemon to win Game 1 here in Seniors Finals.
Rune was enjoying a fantastic tempo advantage almost that entire game. It started to slip away there in the mid-game. The Flying Pikachu V was able to get that coin flip by another turn or two, but it just wasn't enough. Regan was too far behind and put up a valiant effort, but just wasn't quite able to get there. Roxanne just absolutely ensuring that Rune was able to convert at the end.
I was definitely a little surprised to see Regan going so aggressively after the fly play. I think he just identified, I'm a little behind. This is my way to get back in. He missed out on getting those Pikachus in play early, missed the turn to attack, and from there, Rune was able to just push the advantage and eventually take the victory. Regan is definitely not out of it yet. We've got 2 more games potentially to come. Rune, of course, will be doing his best to take the victory in this second match to secure the title, just 1 game away from being the North American International Champion.
Players just shuffling up. This is where not only are they preparing for the game, but you can see the gears turning. They're also preparing their strategies, thinking about the matchup. They got a little bit more information about how their opponent likes to play, what the tech cards are. Regan wasn't able to get that Flying Pikachu VMAX set up, but if that does change here in Game 2, it's going to completely alter the trajectory of how this matchup will play out.
Regan in this matchup will definitely be looking to get a Pikachu established a little earlier. He will have the advantage of going first this time, can get down hopefully an Arceus and an Energy and try to get those Pikachus quickly. You want to try to limit your bench a little bit and also establish a VMAX before your opponent has an opportunity to be aggressive with cross switchers or Boss's Orders to chase down the low HP Pikachu V, because it does only have 190 hit points, and that's really easy for this Palkia deck to do. If there's only 6 Pokemon in play, 6 benched Pokemon, you're dealing 180 damage with Subspace Swell, and you can pick up that last 10 pretty easily with either a Galarian Zigzagoon or a Choice Belt.
And with Rune going second, you know, there is always that explosive potential of the Battle VIP Pass, the Irida to open up, get the Radiant Greninja. So Rune is in a position to have a great foundation almost no matter what. It was very unlikely to see the slow start we did in the first game, but Regan now has the basic Pokemon, no mulligans here.
I got a quick look at Regan's hand, and I gotta say, it did not look super strong. He's starting the Arceus V-Star, but there are just a bunch of energy cards in his opening hand. Over on Rune's side, going second actually has a pretty excellent start, it looks like. Irida already waiting there in the hand. Let's see these prize cards. 2 Drizzles and Inteleon in the prizes for Regan. That's not great. The 1 Echoing Horn from Rune, not the biggest deal, but it can come up. We saw it play a big factor in that last game. And here we go, game number 2. Underway. Regan needing to win this to force a Game 3. Does have an energy on an Arceus and a pass. Got the minimum that he wants this turn, as well as benching a Sobble.
Yeah, I believe this is the same setup it was in Game 1, just the Arceus with the grass energy and a lone Sobble. Rune opening up with Irida looking through the deck now, studying the prizes, has the option to get that Radiant Greninja Capacious Bucket, can grab the Battle VIP Pass. We'll have to see what Irida is up to here.
The only Pokemon it looks like that Rune has in the prizes is the basic Origin form, Palkia V, of which he plays 3 copies, so you can definitely manage through a game with just 2. And if you ever want that third one, of course, we know Hisuian Heavy Ball is waiting to pull it back out.
Yeah, the Hisuian Heavy Ball is a great way to pull those from the prizes. Fortunately, Rune was so far ahead, was just naturally taking the prizes, didn't need to rely on that to grab that Galarian Zigzagoon, and just had it in the hand so long, was able to wait for the perfect opportunity to combo it with that Echoing Horn. Honestly, the position of the Echoing Horn in Rune's prizes, I think, means it's going to show up in the hand at just the right time for when it's needed.
And we can see why Irida is so strong in this deck, especially on turn 1. When you're going second, Battle VIP Pass, an easy choice, letting Rune get 2 basic Pokemon, putting them directly onto the bench, and in a deck like Palkia that just wants to flood the board with Pokemon, utilize multiple shady dealings in future turns, and then, of course, use concealed cards as many times as possible. It just makes too much sense to play this card.
It gives you an excellent advantage, an excellent foundation to base the rest of your strategy on. Isaiah Bradner demonstrated the explosive potential with that double VIP pass in his other game yesterday. Also has the energy for the concealed
how
cards.
about
and
another
draws
VIP
another
pass?
one. Rune just getting absolutely established here, exploding this game, blowing it wide open.
He's actually got all the Pokemon in hand. I think he would want to get out with this VIP pass. But it is still turn 1. This is the only turn of the game he could play it. So if he wants to just thin that piece out so that it's not clunking up his deck later on, it may still be a good play this turn. You can also keep it as quick ball fodder, which might be what he's thinking of. Has the Irida in hand, and if he's eyeing up maybe an Ultra Ball next turn, something like that, he wants to discard that piece. That makes sense.
What an amazing opening draw, to the point where you don't need to play that second Battle VIP pass and you can just save it for later. Back over to Regan, has the Professor's Research in hand. This could bail him out of a bad situation in the mid game, but still struggling to get fully established because, as you said, Chip, starting with a lot of energies in the opening hand, you want the energies to be in the deck so they can then be accelerated by Trinity Charge and Trinity Nova instead.
That research massively bailed Regan out. He was really working with nothing here. You can see it was Beedrill, a couple of energies. The Training Court does choose not to put the court in play, but he draws the pieces to pull off the turn 2 attack, already looking much better. Arceus V Star coming down. No path to the peak to stop Starbirth this game. Regan will likely want to establish Flying Pikachu V, maybe even get 2 of them down, since Rune could threaten a KO if Regan was only to get 1.
One key research immediately gives Regan the gas he needs. At this stage of gameplay, you know these players are not going to go down without a fight. And now with the V-Star power going off here, finding the 2 missing pieces to tie together the rest of the hand and finish this devastating setup.
Flying Pikachu V being the first choice. Regan also eyeing up that Manaphy, maybe wants to protect from a Radiant Greninja play. Something Rune could do would be to use Radiant Greninja, Moonlight Shuriken, take out the Sobble, and then also put 90 damage on the Flying Pikachu. Even though you're not KOing it, it does make it much easier for Palkia to deal with later on in the game.
Now that there's no path to the peak in play, a play like that with the Star Portal is a lot more likely, and we'll see if Regan does indeed adopt that Manaphy defensive strategy like we saw in the first game.
Could just be the second Flying Pikachu, though.
The choice of what the second card will be here is going to be there's so much riding on this choice. Do I go for the Manaphy to be defensive, to play around a potential explosive play from my opponent, or do I want to get something that's going to let me further my own game plan, keep my own threat level high? And you, in this position, in game number 2, where Regan has to win and take it to game 3, the more aggressive option sounds a little bit more enticing.
I think what Regan has decided here is he just wants to get the 2 Pikachus. If he goes for the Manaphy play, sure, it cuts Rune off of the Radiant Greninja option, but there's still a ton of Pokemon in play, and there's only 1 Flying Pikachu, so Rune could still have an excellent turn with cross switchers, take a KO on the one single flying Pikachu, and then you just don't have any threat of that on the next turn. So by doing it this way, you are threatening the setup, and did not accelerate any lightning energies here. Did discard a few. Actually, there are only 2 in this list. Did both of them hit the discard pile on turn 1?
There was one in the hand that was discarded with research.
Yeah, one was discarded, but there is still one in hand. Okay, so he can still pull off a max balloon next turn.
Just needs to find that last energy. But back over to Rune now. Still so much at stake here. The Palkias are all set up on the bench. That beautiful opener what has put Rune on the trajectory to victory here. Just needs to fully convert and complete this setup. Just needs that Palkia V-Star, has the Radiant Greninja to help out, a couple Zobbles on the bench, potentially evolving into Drizziles. Everything that you need is right there. You just have to reach out and grab it. So we'll see what the first play is going to be.
There is no option for this active Arceus to go down. We know Rune did prize the Echoing Horn, and I don't even think Regan has any basic Pokemon in the discard pile yet, so we can't see the same type of play we saw in that last game with a Headbutt Tantrum plus the Choice Belt to pick up the KO. Rune did choose to promote Radiant Greninja, so can go for the Moonlight Shuriken. Targeting down a Sobble and damaging a Pikachu is still solid.
But Regan had already said, like you talked about, Chip, setting up the 2 Pikachus instead just still allows you to keep up your threat level, put up your fight.
Because Regan could just evolve the one that doesn't get damaged, obviously.
Losing out on the Sobble, losing out on the utility is a little bit sad, but because that lightning energy is in the hand, there is still a way to keep on fighting back, even without that additional draw from the Shady Dealings.
Concealed cards picking up 2 here.
Roxanne going to come in handy a little bit later, but really nothing to keep the threat level up in this present situation. It would feel so bad to use the Star Portal ability just for a little bit of damage right now when there's nothing to capitalize on it yet. But who knows if Rune's going to take that play anyway before it's too late and just trust that the deck will come through for him. Irida being hovered here finds a water Pokemon so we can get that V-Star and then another item.
And Rune does have a Scoop Up Net in hand, so he can actually reuse the Shady Dealings Drizzile in play. So we could see some cross switchers here, potentially. Picking up one off the Irida, Scoop Up Net, pick up Drizzile, and then Drizzile Shady Dealings for the second switcher. But I don't see... Okay, there is a... Yep, so it does have the energy, so... That would be a way for Rune to pick up 2 prizes here, and that might be what he's going for. We see that pickup off Irida, Scoop Up Net, resetting Shady Dealings, now going back into the deck. Does he find the second cross switcher? Looks like it.
Beautiful sequencing here. We know that the Palkias need to get set up, but the Drizzile lines are allowing you to get the cards you need to make sure that after you attack, you're still prepped for the next turn. The potential to recycle this Greninja is so important. Because the Palkia can attack for only 2 energy, you have so much remaining that you can keep cycling with the Concealed Cards ability. And there's the promotion. There's the attachment.
And you can see the low HP of this flying Pikachu really being a big factor. There's only 7 benched Pokemon in play total. That's exactly 200, the minimum number of Pokemon needed in play for Rune to get this KO without something like a Choice Belt. Rune now taking 2 prizes and taking the lead.
Flying Pikachu V goes down. Regan tried to prepare for this as best as possible by having the second one available. Only has 1 energy attached to it, however, but has the Raihan from the Shady Dealings Drizzile. This allows you to attach an energy card from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon and then search your deck for another card. And what is that missing card that Regan's going to grab here, Chip?
He may still need the Flying Pikachu VMAX. We know there is a Lightning Energy in hand, so Raihan here can grab any basic energy from the discard pile, a Grass potentially, or just another Lightning. I think the Grass makes sense.
Grass accelerated to the active. Flying Pikachu VMAX, 1 more attachment away.
Sure enough, here comes the Pikachu floating to the front of the deck. Now, is that the piece Regan wants, or does he want to thin out the Evolution Incense? It's a little interesting because you play the Incense to get the Pikachu, but off of this Raihan, you could just grab the Pikachu and then Incense remains in your deck as an out later on to Shady Dealings. Of course, Regan did prize that Shady Dealings Intellium, but he doesn't know when he may take it. For now, he will just choose to thin that card out, knowing that, hey, that Inteleon is in my prizes. That means that this Incense is not really an out for me unless I get lucky and take it here.
Yeah, so great discipline here, recognizing that that card isn't going to be as useful. Gets rid of it now. Flying Pikachu VMAX, very well timed because it's taking down this Palkia V-Star before Rune has another Pokemon established to take its place and keep that threat level up. If Regan can get 2 back-to-back attacks, Rune might fall way too far behind. 2 more prizes going to Regan is going to put him ahead in this game, but also sets up the threat of Roxanne.
That's right, Roxanne is active, and if I'm not mistaken, we noticed Rune draw into that last turn, so a quick Roxanne whenever you don't have a bunch of Sobbles in play in order to potentially draw out of the only 2-card hand could be detrimental. These Inteleon decks do not like to have a low hand size like that. Regan is able to respond, taking the KO on the Palkia, taking 2 prizes, one of them being that Inteleon.
Beautiful setup from Regan, and now Rune is in a tight spot on the back foot.
Yeah,
now.
Rune taking a look here saying, can I hit this one? Okay, yes, I can. Only damage from basic Pokemon being limited, so Origin Form Palkia V-Star can still hit into this. But I guess something to note is Rune is unable to try to soften this up with something like the Radiant Greninja here.
Yeah, the Radiant Greninja has done a lot of work in the past if you're able to get in that cheeky Moonlit Shuriken, deal that chip damage, and then try to clean it up later. But now with, again, no attacker ready to go to be promoted, the Greninja is just going to go into the active to try to buy some time. Shady Dealings Inteleon now hitting the stage, and Rune has 2 shots at getting the card he needs. Maybe a boss's orders, Scoop Up Net being eyed down here.
Couple of different plays. Scoop Up Net to reset this Inteleon would be really solid, especially if Rune wants to go for a Roxanne this turn or next turn. So that way it is a piece that you put back into the deck. It's an out to draw.
Even if you go for the Roxanne, you put Regan down to 2 cards in hand, they still have their attacker in the active spot. The Flying Pikachu VMAX is just going to say, well, I'll draw and I'll just attack. Even though I don't have any resources, as long as I maintain the strong position that I have on the board and in play, I don't need to worry about whether or not I have the appropriate pieces in hand.
Something Rune could do here would be play the boss's orders to bring up the, I guess, Arceus or Drizzile, and then use Moonlight Shuriken to damage the Flying Pikachu. Flying Pikachu's Max Balloon only prevents damage to it from basic Pokemon, but if you get sent to the bench, all effects actually get cleared off of those Pokemon, so the Max Balloon protection would no longer be there.
Very smart play indeed. Hopefully Rune may be able to set this up, get a little bit of chip damage down. That Flying Pikachu VMAX, such a massive HP total, and you have to do a lot of work to take down this threat. Regan only has this one available in play, so if you get this lightning attacker out of the way, your Palkia V-Stars have a lot more room to work and not worry about getting counter KO'd.
Rune does grab his Hisuian Heavy Ball. He did prize that last Origin Form Palkia V. He would love to bench it here, so Heavy Ball can bail him out. Grab it out of the deck, put it into play. Now there are 2 available.
Prizes are going to be shuffled back and redistributed here.
Something we need to keep track
up
of.
the top here.
Yeah, something we need to keep track of certainly is the time. We're at about 24 minutes remaining. There is extended time for Top Cut and Finals, but with just 24 minutes now, this game is still a few minutes away from being over. We could be in a rushed Game 3 scenario. We are seeing the flip of the V-Star marker, Star Portal throwing those energies onto the Radiant Greninja, and Boss's orders to bring up the Drizzile. Moonlight Shuriken can either take out Drizzile and damage the Pikachu, or it could even damage the 2 Pokemon on the bench.
Rune going to take a little bit of time to consider which line is most appropriate, but you can tell that with everything on the line, the players are going to consider every angle. Manaphy also joining the party here and just playing towards that Palkia V-Star. And the damage on the Pikachu VMAX is the choice made. Drizzile goes down. No option for Shady Dealings Inteleon anymore.
So what Rune is saying is, hey, Regan, you can't attack with this Pikachu. If you do, I'm simply a Melanie and an energy away from closing this game out. Regan recognizes this, has to go into the Arceus V-Star.
Now just attaches the choice belt, has the double turbo and the energy attached to the V-Star, of course, can still deal some damage, can still take down this Radiant Greninja, but that's only going to be one prize.
And that's all he has, no other options. Trinity Nova does take the KO. No supporter played for the turn. Flying Pikachu sitting there on the bench. 220 hit points remaining on that Pokemon. If there were 6 Pokemon in play, that's 180 base damage, so would still be safe from even a choice-belted Origin Form Palkia to close the game out, unless that last basic Pokemon from Rune could be the Galarian Zigzagoon. It's a big combo of cards. Let's see if he can piece it all together.
When you've got the Drizzile in the active and another in the hand, the Shady Dealings and Teleon as well, finding those missing pieces is going to be completely within your reach. The Melanie is found. That's one piece, like you said, Chip. Just needs to get one more energy into the hand so we can set up this Palkia V-Star and hopefully take down Arceus.
It's a big combo of cards, but if Rune can find Galarian Zigzagoon, Choice Belt, 2 Cross Switchers, and a basic energy, he will be the North American International Champion.
Everything is coming together. You know that he is also aware of that combination of cards, is going to try everything in his power to get them here. The Flying Pikachu VMAX getting damaged with that amazing Boss's Orders play, putting it back on the bench so the Moonlit Shuriken could still strike true and set up that 90 damage.
Oh, here it comes, Galarian Zigzagoon. Rune is going for it, thinning as optimally as possible before playing this Manaphy, getting that Pokemon out of the deck. Now with, I believe, the Inteleon already in hand, he just needs to find either a Cross Switcher or Choice Belt off of the Melanie for turn. If he can find one of those cards here, he has Shady Dealings to get the other 2 pieces. Let's see it. Does he find a Cross Switcher or the Choice Belt off of 3 cards? Quick Ball, Evolution Instance, and a Cross Switcher, the last card. I think he should have the combo needed here.
Just making absolutely sure that the sequence is appropriate. Even when you are closing in on victory, your heart starts pumping. You have to still make sure you focus on clean play and execute
There's
properly.
The Choice Belt. There's the Cross Switcher. Just wanted to make sure he had the cards necessary. I'm pretty sure he's got it here.
Yeah, the Shady Dealings and Teleon is in hand for this Drizzile. Just needs to get it out of the way here.
Doing a little bit of extra quick math with 6 Pokemon in play. Subspace Swell does deal 180 damage. Galarian Zigzagoon giving you 10 more, putting that Pikachu to 210 exactly. Here it goes. Choice Belt. Cross Switcher coming to the hand. Show the Zigzagoon. Attach the belt. Get the energy down. Here we go. Energy, belt, goon. Ping 10 more damage. Double Cross Switcher. And Rune wins the North American International Championship.
What a game, what a combination to close it out. We know that the Inteleon engine can make miracles happen, and Palkia V-Star showing that it is not just a flash in the pan, it is a true dominant meta force, another champion crowned.
Congratulations to Rune on the victory. Of course, incredible congratulations as well to Regan, an amazing player from the seniors division. We've seen him win multiple regional championships. Getting second place at an IC is nothing to be ashamed of. He's an incredible player, and I'm sure he'll have an incredible showing in the seniors division at the World Championships in just a few months.
Yeah, this is just the beginning for him and just the beginning for both of our fantastic players here on Championship Sunday at NAIC.
We see Rune there
Ohio.
being embraced